Transgender people have always existed in different cultures, but the main research to start actually helping and explaining trans people was in Germany around the 1920s. Magnus Hirschfeld, Li Xiu Tong, and Carl Giese were the main three researchers and coincidentally partners to try and study sexology, the study of human sexual life and relationships. Hirschfeld didn't believe in a binary set of genders or sexualities, instead understanding a wide range of identities. He recorded up to 64 in his research. Due to their success, they were able to create the Institute for Sexual Science. It became a gathering place for Berlin's thriving subculture of homosexuals, transsexuals, and transvestites, terms they coined in 1923. The Institute and its work also increasingly came to the notice of the Nazi Party. At one point, following a lecture he gave, Hirschfeld was attacked by brown shirts who fractured his skull and left him for dead in the street. Though not yet in power, the National Socialists were bent on eradicating the triple evils of socialists, homosexuals, and Jews. Hirschfeld was all three. It would not stop there, though, as further into the Nazi Revolution, the Institute would get burned to the ground along with most of the trio's research.
In 1924, the Society for Human Rights, the first gay rights organization, was founded by Henry Gerber in Chicago, who had emigrated from Germany. The organization ceased to exist after most of its members were arrested.
In World War II, 1933 to 1945, nearly 100,000 German homosexual men were rounded up and placed in concentration camps along with Jewish people. They were designated by a pink triangle on their clothing. In 1945, these same German homosexual men were the last group to be released from the Nazi concentration camps after liberation from the Allied forces. In paragraph 175, the German Criminal Code stated that homosexual relations between males to be illegal.
During the book burning that took place in Germany World War II, many records books that had mentions been written by or were interpreted as LGBT books were destroyed. After World War II, America cracked down on homosexuality. The APA published a finding in 1952. The American Psychiatric Association Diagnostic Manual lists homosexuality as a sociopathic personality disturbance that could be treated. There was an executive order set in place in 1953, April 27th. Executive Order 1045-0, issued by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, banning homosexuals from working for the federal government, stating they are a security risk. This order stays in place until 1993, when President Bill Clinton and the U.S. Congress enact the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law. In 1938, Michael Dillon, a transgender doctor who had just graduated from college, was on the look for hormones that could let him socially transition. This is when he arrived at the Laboratory of Brain and Cognition, where he met Dr. George Foss. Foss had been experimenting with testosterone to try to help women with menstrual cramps. After getting a letter of recommendation, Foss started Dillon on hormones and closely monitored him. After using him in a study on the effects of hormone therapy for medical transitioning, Foss sent Dillon to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist spread Dillon's story all over the town, and he was forced to leave. He moved and got a job as a mechanic. After a severe case of hypoglycemia hospitalized him, a sympathetic plastic surgeon offered to do a double mastectomy. The doctor recommended that Dillon seek out Sir Harold Gillies, a reconstructive surgeon for war veterans. He worked on those who were maimed in battle and gave them a shot at normal life. One of the things he did was reconstructing men's genitals so they could remain functional. Dillon sought out Gillies with the request that he construct a functional penis for him. Using an idea he had originally planned on testing on war victims, Gillies used a skin graft from a different part of the body that could repair other parts of the bodies with it, or, as he modified it, create a new part of the body from it. Seeing how this technique not only worked but provided healthy results, Gillies would go on to both save lives and create a sense of normalcy for war victims who were mutilated. Furthermore, George Foss would continue his research into hormones. It would not just help transgender men and women, but it would help with the creation of the synthetic hormone estrogen, which would go on to help treat breast cancer, reducing the death rate of breast cancer by 42% in 1989.
Around the time of Michael Dillon, there was another trans person in the media, Christine Jorgensen. The difference between Christine Jorgensen and other LGBTQ people in the 1950s and 60s who were getting routinely harassed and arrested really makes it clear how legislation was designed to keep heteronormative roles/expectations. At the time, they were still focused on the criminalization of homosexuality through gay behavior in the bedroom, with violent harassment in public and private by the police force. Political campaigns labeled gay people as dangerous, and the laws were designed to control and oppress them.
One large impact of Michael Dillon's transition was medical frontiers and feats. Medical frontiers and feats could be considered simple, though compared to what the true attempt of these men were. A quote from Michael Dillon about Dr. Gillies. His one aim had always been to make life tolerable for those who either nature or man had ill-treated without regard to conventional ways, and to many a one he must have given renewed hope and a new start. Gillies and Foss wanted to help those, as well as educate, but you can only teach people who won't listen for so long. Dillon would end up being outed and driven into hiding as a monk in hope of finding peace. That's where he spent out the rest of his days, and he died peacefully. The issue of transgender representation and education throughout the world has been a problem for centuries. And though things have gotten better for the transgender community and the LGBTQ community, the fight isn't over. Discrimination lessened, and there are laws set in place against it, but it still exists today despite that. Healthcare has advanced, but many places deny them gender-affirming care. Places like Planned Parenthood have become an amazing resource for them. They can go in, get hormone therapy without having to do all of the pre-planned visits beforehand to make sure they are truly sure. On top of that, the plastic surgery field has made many advancements after the first uses of the skin graft. Today, they use it on burn victims, scar tissue, and reconstructive surgeries. It can even be used to hold organ transplants and put patches on organs. And laws or acts put against transgender people have been taken down or demolished, and new laws and acts have been passed to protect them today. Michael Dillon had a positive impact on the world. He brought awareness to a place that there was little to no awareness.
Medical feats and unmet social frontiers. Michael Dillon did not intend on changing medical history just to look like himself and be treated as such. Due to Dillon's request to have phalloplasty, the plastic surgery field met many advancements. After that, more research was put into it, and it evolved into what it is today. We also have more knowledge about hormone replacement therapy and how it can benefit people. And though only medical boundaries were crossed, you cannot argue that because of the work of Dr. Harold Gillies, George Foss, and Michael Dillon, medical frontiers were crossed and social ones at least challenged. Though we are honored to have shed some light on this topic, there are thousands of more trans stories throughout the world that have done just as much, medically, socially, or both. Crossing a frontier doesn't happen overnight. It takes passion, care, and a willingness to disregard fear. We encourage you to look into LGBTQ+ frontiers, as some of them are happening and have still continued today. But for now, we hope you learned about how science can win.